Hey guys, my name is Nick, and I'm one of the members of the Super Nintendo Dudes. Welcome to one of the most iconic game franchises to this day. Sonic the Hedgehog found its roots in the Sega Genesis, and since then, it's been going super strong. Okay, well maybe it isn't as successful today as it was back when I was a kid, but when I played some of the Sonic games for the GameCube, it showed promise. Sonic Adventure was really fun to me, and I was addicted to Sonic Heroes. But I was kind of thinking Sega would figure it out and would continue to put a contemporary spin on the classic Sonic games that we've all come to know and love. I mean, Sonic is Sonic, you gotta go fast and whatnot, but in every game to this point, he hasn't been on a freaking futuristic skateboard. Sonic Heroes had them flying around in space trying to take out a giant robot, and Sonic Adventure 2 Battle had them battling a giant lizard thing in space. Sonic in space isn't new, but that also happened in the old Sonic games for the Sega Genesis. Even in those cases, where he was in space, he had to have the power of the Chaos Emeralds, and now you're telling me that all he needed to do was hop on a hoverboard and not even run to stop Dr. Robotnik's or Eggman, whatever you call him, evil's plans? Yeah, that goes along with every other Sonic game to date. I went into this game skeptically, but luckily I was still a kid and thought that animals on hoverboards, well, or extreme gears if you want to go by the game's terminology, it had the potential to be fun. I started with the story mode, which, as you would probably expect, it wasn't that interesting. Eggman has an evil plan that he has to use all 7 Chaos Emeralds to fulfill it. And what's the bait for Sonic and the Gang Gunter? The winner is the fastest creature on the planet. Thinking he's up to something, Sonic, being the genius that he is, enters the competition to stop him by buying in with a Chaos Emerald. Yeah, even as a kid, I had to do a literal facepalm. Yeah, once you get a hang of the game, the story mode is pretty straightforward. You win the race, or some of the early ones are a little nicer and they only make you get top 3, and then you move on to the next one. The cutscenes really don't help out the game much either, but here's some examples of the cutscenes. Amy gets angry at a bird, Knuckles almost gets beat up by a bird, Sonic loses a race to a bird, Green Bird summons the ancient city of Babylon. The usual stuff you'd see in a Sonic game, right? Yeah, I don't know either. The Babylon story isn't much better. You think Eggman would be up to something, which he is, duh. And you try to get the ancient treasure after winning the World Grand Prix. The story mode never really took me long, so I really didn't mind watching the almost unexplainable cutscenes. Well, congratulations. You did it! You beat story mode. I bet the Treasure of Babylon is something really cool, right? Maybe some awesome extreme gear, new technology, something that the Sega minds just took a long time to think of, right? It's an extreme gear, but it's a rug. It's a carpet. Something you'd probably find a character riding around in a Disney movie. Oh, wait a second, they did that in Aladdin. Yeah, so Sega's ideas are still pretty unoriginal. Got it. Makes sense. So, your reward for following through with the main story is still pretty crappy. Luckily, this game has a lot more than just a story without any plot holes whatsoever. You can play with your friends in Versus mode or Survival mode, which honestly, Survival mode is just their attempt at a battle mode. It isn't really worth talking about, and I always thought the Versus mode was actually pretty fun. You can play through the World Grand Prix playing as II, trying to remember some of the better Sega games developed around that time. But the one mode that really stood out to me was Mission mode. Now, Mission mode, this is probably the mode that I had the most fun in. And it was probably one of the few parts that I actually felt challenged in the game, due to the story mode being pretty easy once you got a hang of the game. The missions are separated into the characters of the Babylon story: Jet the Hawk, Storm the Albatross, and Mary the Canary. Technically her name's Wave the Swallow, but it's throwback to a joke way back in our first LP. You play through the stages with the different types of characters set to complete certain objectives on the levels. Some aren't too difficult, while others might take you a pretty long time because one mistake makes you start the whole level over. And you can pass them without being perfect, but it's so satisfying to pass a level in one big shortcut to get that perfect rank. Now, as you could probably tell, this game didn't get the best reception from everyone. And if you saw one of our first Let's Plays, it was pretty bad audio-wise, but I did have help going through that game. So I want to actually throw it out to them as well, just to give their conclusions on the flawless game that is Sonic Riders. So here's my good buddy Mike.
Sega tried to do something new and innovative with Sonic Riders, and while I do appreciate their attempt at making it a unique experience, it falls way short when compared to other racing games like Mario Kart or F-Zero. Sonic Riders has a steep learning curve, and trying to learn the controls and mechanics of the game is anything but intuitive. It's a frustrating process, and on top of the tedious controls, it also has an unfair difficulty for new players. And even if you're willing to put in the time to learn the controls and overcome the difficulty, you'll find that the story is extremely short and shallow, and that there are very few unique tracks to race on. Many of the tracks are just slight alterations and redesigns of other ones, making it feel repetitive over time. And that's how I want to summarize my experience with Sonic Riders: tedious and repetitive. It takes too long to get adjusted to the controls, and by the time you do, you find that the game is the same thing over and over, with a boring story that looks like it was thrown together in a day. Again, I applaud them for trying to do something unique with a racing game, but there just seems to be so much lost potential with this one. Maybe next time, Sonic fans.
Now, I actually had a lot of fun with this game, but it was probably for the wrong reason. I was determined to get 100% on the game, and part of it was actually pretty tough. It takes some time to unlock every character and the gear that the game has, even though I really only use 1 or 2 gears. Throughout the game, unless there is a set one for the story mode or mission, if you're having trouble taking the shortcuts or any of the tricks, I would really recommend going into mission mode. I always use the broken gears that allows you to use another class of shortcuts, because it just makes sense for Jet to fly being a bird and whatnot, it just makes sense. I would have liked more tracks to race on, or maybe a storyline that an 8-year-old could have believed, but you know what? At that time, I was okay with what I played. Now, what did you think of the game? Did you play it and end up liking it like me, or hating it like Mike? Let us know in the comment section. And as always, thanks for watching, and leave a like for more content.